And a very good evening. It's Friday, the 19th of August. It's just gone 7 p.m. here in the UK. Wherever you are in the world, welcome. And I hope you're having a lovely day. You've had a lovely day, or you're going to have a lovely day. It all depends, because we have a global audience and we like to welcome them all and make them feel at home. It's episode 124 of the Pro Synth Network show. Welcome and thank you for joining us as per usual. Hello to everybody in the YouTube chat. We will go round and introduce everyone in just a moment. But before we do, it's the general housekeeping stuff. So let me just remind you, if you haven't already, please do like the video by clicking the thumbs up button, or dislike it if you don't like it. We know there's a few people that don't. So do, whatever you do, it's all interaction. We like that. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and that way you'll get notified of everything that we put up on the channel. Share us around if you know anybody that would enjoy our content. Please do share us around, and of course if you want to comment live, you can do so in the chat, which is just over to that side there, or you can, if you're watching after the show, you can do it in the comment section below. Please do, we do read everything, and we do try and respond to everything as well, so please do comment if you have any thoughts or opinions about the content in the shows, whichever week it might be. We are completely funded by you guys, and so just let me remind you of our PayPal address if you'd like to make a donation to help us keep the channel going. There it is on the screen. It's also down below in the description under the video. You can also use YouTube's own funding features, shall we call them, thumbs ups, super chat, super stickers, and the thanks button. If you're watching catch up, there's a little button underneath where you can do the same sort of thing, and you can donate a few quid, a few pence, whatever. It's all gratefully appreciated. It all gets ploughed back into all of the streaming fees and the software charges and everything that we have to pay for to keep the show on the road. So thank you if you've donated in the past. Thank you if you're going to donate in the future. It's all for you. If you want to keep in touch with us, of course, we do have Twitter, and we also have Instagram, and we also have Facebook, where we have the big page, the big community over there, and of course over here on Facebook, and it's all at Pro Synth Network if you want to find us there. And finally, if you have a question for anybody on the show tonight, if you can just prefix your question with a big capital Q, it helps Ben's eyesight because it's not very good these days, and he can drop that into our little bucket of questions that we can then pull out. So just to let you know, we're going to do things a little bit different this week. We sometimes do this when guests are very busy or unable to sort of stick around for the whole couple of hours. So news is going to be at the end of the show. Or the last half of the show, but the first half of the show we're going to dedicate to our guests, who I'll introduce to you in just a moment. I'm going to change things up here. I'm going to go straight to Kent Spong, who is our synth technician extraordinaire, who's got himself a new toy apparently. Would you like to demonstrate your new toy?
Was it doing it?
Yeah, it's doing it. Look at that, it's following him everywhere he goes.
It's like being married again.
If you get up and walk out the room, does it?
Yeah.
Because that could be embarrassing if you go to the toilet.
Yeah, this is it. It's like being married again. It's like can't do anything without being watched.
Indeed. How are you, sir?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, been busy?
Yeah, usuals.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
All the usuals, yeah.
Nice little Synth-X in the background I see there.
Oh, yes. The little girl.
Look at that. Ooh. Very nice. There's a reason for that, I suppose.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in the news. Yeah. Cool.
No, indeed. Yeah.
Good to see you again, although it has been less than 24 hours since I last saw you. So,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Welcome back, as always.
Thank you.
And let's go up north. There he is with his painted beard.
Yeah.
Hasn't not washed out yet.
No, not properly. I'm going a bit ginger now.
Ben is an amazing Technicolor goatee.
Yeah, and I've got new glasses as well.
Oh yeah, look at that.
The eyesight's a little bit improved, but the reactor lights. So that's fine. I go outside and they turn into sunglasses, and they both react instantly to the increased light, but they don't go back. With the same enthusiasm. So one of them goes clear and the other one stays dark for about 2.5 hours afterwards.
Oh, wow.
I look as though I'm a villain or something.
Yeah, mine both. They when I go inside, they stay dark for a little while. They certainly don't react as much as they do react. But
there's just one of them.
That's weird. That's very
stays
strange.
dark.
I'd take them back if I was you.
Yeah, I think I might have to. But they're good though.
Good. And of course, last week you weren't on the show. Well, you were for a few minutes backstage, but because you were supporting the Great Heaven 17.
Yeah, we were playing a gig with Heaven 17 and Mark Radcliffe's fantastic band, Oon. And it was brilliant. It was an amazing night. We went down really well. We were mentioned on Mark's BBC Radio 6 show the next day, and
lovely.
Glenn Gregory was interviewed on I think it was Radio Northwich or something, and he said that we were the real deal, which was quite a compliment.
Take that, absolutely. Get that on the bottom of the posters.
Oh yeah,
the real deal, Glenn Gregory. Yeah, absolutely. No, good stuff. No, we've been watching the videos, and it looked like a really, really good night. So, and it's a regular thing, isn't it? I think that's the second or third time they've done that at Northwich, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's plans for us to do it. I don't know whether it'll be Heaven 17 or not, but there's plans for us to be involved in another one next year. So,
no, you never know. Next year it might be headlining.
I doubt it, but it was
dream
great,
big, Ben. Dream big.
Yeah, it was great. It was really good.
Excellent. Well, good to see you, mate. And if anybody is looking to watch any of those videos from last week where Ben was supporting, if you go to the Electromantics YouTube channel, we should get a link. Maybe somebody can make one up, and we'll show that later. Yeah. But yeah, there's some really cracking live videos of Electromantics set out there, so go and have a look. Right, time to introduce our guest, and our guest is an esteemed, I hope I don't offend him by calling this, an esteemed veteran of the music technology business. He's been in it since the mid-1970s and has been at a number of companies that have been just at the forefront of some of the great innovations and the great products that many of us will have used over the years. He started off at Casio. He then moved to Akai. He then moved to EMU. And all of that was within the space of 20-odd years, and had a rip-roaring success. He is now launching a project where he's going to be documenting his time at Akai, which is, that 1985 to 1995 era was the peak of their power and success. And we thought we'd get him on the show to tell us all about that. Let me introduce to you, from just down the road from me, Mr. David Caulfield. Welcome to the show, David.
Hello, everybody.
So, how are you, first of all? Are you well?
Yes, very well, thank you. Yep.
Good stuff. And
I've been a veteran. I've still got all my teeth.
Well, of course, before you were in the music technology industry, you were actually in the music business itself, because you were a guitarist in a band in the late 60s.
Yeah. I started early 60s, because I'm that old. And by the time it got towards the end of the 60s, we just went full time. And I ended up playing in all sorts of places.
Yeah.
It was fun while it lasted, but it wasn't going to be much longer than that. My heart really wasn't in being a pro. And
right.
But funnily enough, well, I'll tell you a bit later. But it's funny how things come back around to you and affect you in your future, which
Indeed.
is exactly what that did.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but your first kind of music technology job was with Casio. Is that right?
Yes, I joined them. It's hard to believe it now, because they are a very large company. But back in 1975, we had an office about twice the size of this room I'm in, and that's how it started. And after 2 or 3 years, I became product manager, and it just exploded. I can't tell you how exciting. This is before the music thing.
Yeah.
And around 1980. They said, we're going to go into the music business. We're going to make keyboards, because one of the four brothers, Casio is their name actually, plays the organ. And so I think they had one of those, wouldn't it be great if conversations over lots of drink, I think, late night, typical Japanese. And they came up with this absolutely stunning way of creating sounds at a price that left people's mouths fell open. I mean, previously, I think you probably tell me better than I can remember, but You had like Fender Rhodes and clavinets and things like that. Suddenly we came along with a full-size keyboard at £129 with 40 odd sounds in it. It was just ridiculous. I mean, it just went like that. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Because the first time I think I came across Casio in a musical sense was with the classic VL1, or the VL tone, and that range of sort of combination instruments that were a synthesizer and a calculator and something else. And Casio were very inventive back then. I mean, what was the thinking behind getting those tiny little things? Was it literally, to sort of start a user base from a very young age?
I'd like to say yes, but a lot of these things are sort of half accidental. I mean, people think that large companies, you do spend a lot of time thinking about it, obviously, but sometimes things happen. They didn't realise that they were creating consumer music because it didn't exist at that point. So,
no, true.
These products came out. I forgot to mention we had the little M10, which was £69. It was phenomenal. I can't tell you the reaction. So suddenly everyone was buying these keyboards, and they were okay. I mean, they weren't brilliant in terms of sounds. They were quite innovative. But the VL1 was, we'd say sequencer, wouldn't we? But the R&D people said, it remembers the notes. It's just a different way of looking at it.
Yeah.
So when the VL1 came out, which was £29.95, by the way.
Yeah.
The reaction of people was just ridiculous. I mean, everybody bought one.
I've got one.
And we had a hit record. Well, we didn't, but what was that German company?
Trio.
Yeah.
Trio.
Da da da.
Da, da, da. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But it was very exciting. I can tell you a funny story about the launch. When we launched the keyboards, first of all, we had a sort of a so-so reaction from the music business. Oh yeah, a Japanese company coming into our business. And we launched at the Empire Rooms in Tottenham Court Road, not there anymore, but it was a function room, and we had about 150 people. And there was a band called Landscape at the time.
Oh yes, I do. Yeah.
And the keyboard player was Chris Heaton, and when we did the presentation, he played for me, and it was amazing. I mean, people just couldn't believe it. It was a tremendous success right from the beginning, and we just won everyone over, and it was fun. It was great fun. I think 3 years later we had something like 650 customers, as in dealers, music dealers.
Yeah.
So we had to go some to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing that always struck me about that was it put a synthesizer, even though it wasn't really considered a proper synthesizer, in the hands of anyone. And when Trio had that hit, it was the first time I think that me and my friends were able to properly replicate the sounds on a hit record, because we couldn't do that before. Now we actually had the thing that they had, and it sounded exactly the same. And it was kind of inspirational and liberating. It was it was a great thing.
Well, it made me fun. That was the thing. It was a great time you can buy something which made a reasonable sound at very very little money.
Yeah,
and that's what set everyone off. It must have started a lot of people playing keyboards, I think.
Yeah,
I think it did. I think it was the thing that got a lot of us now. This generation of players have got an origin with Casio. They all seem to start off with these MT60s, MT whatevers, and got into it that way and got a real love for it, and and stuck with it. So I think we all owe a little bit of gratitude to Casio there.
I mean, up until that point, I think many of us, certainly I can only speak for myself and people around me in the UK, we'd all seen people with big keyboards and synthesizers, and we'd all marvelled at that sound. The synth pop era was coming in the early 80s, and all of a sudden we could do something like that ourselves. We didn't have to just pretend. There it was a proper electronic musical instrument that we could play, and it had some different sounds and didn't sound like anything that was on the on the labels, but it was fun, and I think that it was just a real kind of revolution. I think the VL tone doesn't get the credit for its revolutionary impact because it's not one of the classics. It's not a CS80 or a Fairlight or whatever, but in its own right, it was a real Kickstarter
Yeah.
for it all. Yeah.
If you had to pick one product, it'd be that. I think
Yeah.
people would remember that more than anything else. Do you know we sold 250,000 of those in the UK?
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, that was a lot for back then, I guess.
A lot
as
under
well.
the bed, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, they go for a song nowadays. I mean, one of those in that little, that sleeve that, with a little press stud lid on the top. You get one of those in mint condition. That's not cheap nowadays on eBay. They're going for it. But then, of course, Casio moved from that into a more professional arena. And certainly I played in bands where people were using CZ synthesizers, and there was the RZ1 drum machine, which is still one of my favorite all-time drum machines. And Casio started to establish themselves as a real force in synthesizer technology. That must have been a real exciting time to get into the kind of the pro market as well.
I think they probably should have thought about establishing a different label. I think that it helped hold them back a lot. And we talked about that a lot, but they're proud of the company name. You would be, wouldn't you? It's their family name, almost.
Yeah.
And they were, reluctant to do that. And I think it's a pity, really, because the technology of the what was it? The synthesizer technology when it started, anyway, was really very, very good. But it never really hit the mark because of the name, I think.
Yeah, I think it's funny because Casio were everywhere. There were calculators, there were watches, they were musical instruments, and I guess it was that kind of the whole cachet of the name. Just people didn't take it as seriously as they ought to have done. But I remember our keyboard player in the band that I played in sort of 86 to 90 or something. He had a CZ5000 and swore by it. Absolutely loved it. That was his main keyboard. The Roland, the Juno above it, didn't get much of a look in. It was all Casio. And he had the RZ1 drum machine, which I nicked off him. I did give it back eventually. And he also had the AZ1 or the AZ1, the keytar, which he loved. So, I mean, it's just some great stuff. So that was Casio. So you were there till 85, which was, by the time you finished there, they were a force to be reckoned with in music technology. But you then went to Akai. So how did that come about?
Well, I left Casio and went into a PR partnership.
Okay.
It seemed a good idea at the time. And I forget exactly how we got in touch with Akai, but we did the launch for them, to the dealers in the UK. So they got to know me a little bit then, and conversations started getting more and more regular until eventually they offered me the job.
Cool. And, what were you launching, by the way?
The Akai.
The actual brand. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So they wanted to know. They wanted a list of dealers they could sell to, and
gotcha.
How should they go about it, and whatever. So we just sort of helped with it, really. But there was no real inkling because Akai at the time was a company that made very good quality separates, hi-fi separates. A lot of people had their reel-to-reel tape machines, and the glass ferrite heads were very good. Things like that, people knew about one or two things like that. Then suddenly they went into the music business. It's just an expansion, and it seemed a logical expansion to them. But then the technology, we're sort of going off another branch now, but the technology and Akai met at the same time, because David Cockerell had been working for Electro Harmonics in New York.
Yeah.
And I think back in about 79, he had a pedal called Instant Replay, which was a looping pedal. And it was 8-bit, so it was quite grungy, but it worked. And so that eventually morphed into the first sampler that Akai did, the S612.
Yeah.
And then very quickly it became apparent, I was involved then, and it became very apparent to everybody that we needed to really get our game together in terms of design. And lots of people came on board, and it accelerated quite quickly then. So, again, very exciting times.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, sampling at the time was the exclusive domain of the rich and the famous, because all you could get was Fairlights or Synclaviers, maybe some of the early EMU stuff. And then Akai come along with an affordable rack mount sampler that was really simple to use. Use those god awful quick discs. I'll never forgive him for that. But it was a great machine, and it democratized that technology to the masses for the first time. I mean, that must have been, to be at the vanguard of that movement into making sampling available for many more people than it had been before. Must have been a really exciting thing.
I can't help thinking when I look back that there was a lot of what are we going to do with this going on at the time? Because looking back in it, you can see that certain genres of music started then, maybe because of it or alongside it, who knows? But I think the one thing that made us successful was that the software team were all British.
Yes.
I mean, there were obviously Japanese engineers involved in it, but I've always thought that Japanese software works, but you've always got to look at the manual.
Right.
And, it's not as intuitive as it should be. And that was very important to us right from the very beginning with the S900 onwards, that you should be able to remember what you did so that you could go back and work and use creativity to make your music rather than having to look in the book all the time.
Definitely.
I think that was one thing that was quite. I mean, and that's apart from the features and the sound.
But I mean, you had some great people working. You mentioned David Cockrell, but there was a whole raft of people that have become almost legendary in the business. I mean, it must have been a really great environment to be in.
Sorry, excuse me. I remember one particular moment. We had these development meetings, and they would involve people like Steve Howell and more technical people, and people like me that sort of bridged the gap a little bit, and then a couple of Japanese and whatever. And David Cockrell, we asked David Cockrell, now I can't remember what we asked him to do to the software of the S1000, and he just looked at us, and David's got this way of looking at you like that. And he said, to do that, I would have to rewrite the entire software. And there was a pause, and he said, but I can do this. And that was Time Stretch.
Oh,
Wow.
We went, what? I mean, there was quite a few moments like that. I mean, David is a genius. There's not many people that you can really call a genius, and he's definitely one of them.
Absolutely.
Time stretching blew my mind when that first appeared. Time stretching, it's like it's witchcraft. This isn't possible. You can't speed it up and slow it down without changing the pitch. And it's nonsense. I get how it works now, but back then I didn't have a clue, and it was mind blowing.
It was, and that's the other thing. Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to say that's when all of a sudden we started dealing with people outside our immediate sphere of musicians, people that did voiceovers and things like that, because that was wonderful for them. Because they could shrink bits and elongate them to make them fit exactly, replacing dialogue and things like that. It was wonderful for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be said that Akai had probably one of the longest winning streaks of products over that sort of decade, or maybe 15 years, where starting in the mid 80s and going right through to almost the end of the century, with everything that they did. There were very few dropped balls, shall we say, that everything seemed to be groundbreaking, innovative, super powerful. Everyone had, I remember reading magazines, and it was just drummed into you day after day that if you wanted a sampler in your studio, it had to be an Akai. That was the industry standard, and to be an industry standard, you've got to be doing something really, really right. So how did you, I mean, because you're obviously, I'd say, management, how are you, or were you directing the direction of where the company was going in terms of innovation and what was coming next down the line?
Well, I became the chairman of the product development committee, probably mainly because I'm quite a good communicator with people. Japanese, I could speak a little bit, and we had a team of British, Japanese, American, German, French, Italian, and we all got on really well. And with the Japanese engineers, and so nothing was held back. We were able to talk very freely about what was really necessary, and if we were going off in the wrong direction. And sometimes, we were wrong and they were right. And so, there were a few, few blind alleys, but by and large, because we talked to our customers a lot, and we talked between ourselves a lot, and we were good friends as well. The communication was fantastic. So very little sort of slipped by. I've been in other companies, that one maybe not mentioned, where that was, they just didn't listen at all, really. They were right, obviously, some of the time, but Akai was particularly good at that, and they encouraged that good atmosphere, and that was very apparent. And I'm sure that's had a lot to do with the products that came out.
Yeah, sure. Ben, we got any questions from the guests, the chatties?
There is one. It's from Data Volk, and he asked, when did Chris Huggett come into the Akai picture?
Excuse me. That was at the S1000. I was going to mention Chris. He's no longer with us, unfortunately. Chris was a very, very clever person, and a perfect addition to the sort of David Cockrell school of software writing, because Chris understood what you were saying, what you were really asking for, and of course his background was fantastic. So he got involved in the S1000 onwards, and that, exactly who dipped into what. We then went into Akai Digital, and David Cockrell got more involved in optical disc recording, that kind of thing. And Chris continued with the samplers, I think, through the S3000 series and onwards.
Okay, cool. Because those are names right there. David Cockrell, Chris Huggett, legendary names in just synthesizer history, let alone Akai history. It's just great and Akai have always had this association with great people. Before we get to probably one of the most obvious associations, I'd like maybe to hear some thoughts about our mutual friend, who again is no longer with us, Steve Howell, because as many I will tell this story. I'll tell these stories over and over again. But Steve and I met 20 odd years ago, after I got my first Akai sampler, and he became my sensei, my mentor, and he sadly passed away a few years ago, and the world is a poorer place for it. But he was an incredible designer of user interfaces, as well as an incredible samplist, if that's the correct job title to give him, because he had a brilliant way of sampling in a very small, but economical but powerful way. He had such great skill. I just wondered if you had any abiding memories of the Welsh Wizard.
There's lots of words you can use to describe Steve Howell. Belligerent's one of them, irascible. But I met him right at the very beginning. A little question for you. Do you know what the size of the memory of the S900 was when it came out?
Oh, it was very small, wasn't it?
750K.
Yeah.
What?
So I met Steve very early on when we were delivering S900s with 3 sound discs and 1 blank formatted disc. It seems ridiculous now. So I decided we needed to increase our sound library, so we had something more available. So Steve was one of the people that I said, well, I'll give you an S900 if you can give me 50 discs, I think it was. So if you can imagine working with that size of memory, you'd have people coming and giving you a disc with piano, bass and drums on it, which was quite usable. Because if you sample things at the right sample rate, you're not wasting the memory sampling fresh air, for example, if you're sampling bass, for example. So Steve was one of those people. And he just, he brought such a lot, really. His knowledge was incredible. And he just knew how to do things. And if he didn't know, he'd work it out. So going back to the product steering committee meetings, having somebody like that, and Chris Huggett and David Cockrell and some of these other people, was amazing. Really, really amazing. Some of the ideas that came out that we couldn't do. But Steve was he'd spend time teaching you if you didn't know, and there was a lot I didn't know.
Yeah.
Although there's a funny thing I forgot to tell you, that I got involved very briefly before Akai with a company that was making software for Commodore, and one of the products that we produced was a sampler.
Wow.
So it's one of those funny ironic things. Anyway, Steve, yes, he I mean, very quickly went on to bigger things because Japan recognised how clever he was, and you know, unfortunately, I was sorry to see him go from, you know, helping us, but
Yeah.
he then was working directly for Japan, and we were much better for it.
Yeah, definitely. His let's say his ability to cram so much into a little space that was so infinitely usable. I mean, if you look at the S6000 with its whopping 256 meg of RAM and almost unlimited storage space, you know, which whatever you decide to use, it was a real luxury for him. And none of his stuff, I mean, a lot of that Hollow Sun stuff that he gave away free at the end of the 90s, beginning of the noughties, was all very economical, but still, you know, really, really powerful. I remember him telling me he got hired by Korg, and Korg had just released like a mini version of one of their workstations. It didn't have all the sequencing, but it had most of the sounds in it. But they needed him to do a whole bunch more sounds, and they gave him, you know, not 750k, but it wasn't much more than that to get all of this stuff in. And we were at a show. This was back when we were doing stuff with Alesis, because that came afterwards. And we came up to the Korg stand, and there it was. And I played it, and I just couldn't believe that stuff was all crammed into such a small space. The skill was just incredible, absolutely incredible. So I can't remember the exact date, but of course, Akai, one of the biggest things that Akai are known for is the MPC range, which of course started off with the MPC 60, which was a Roger Lynn design. And I was just curious to know about how that all came about, because that has become such an iconic system, an iconic workflow. Even to this day, it's still up there as, you know, as one of the best. So can you maybe give us a bit of an insight as to how that all began?
Well, Roger was known to people in the company, you know, just connections, music connections, really. And I think he was having difficulty by the time he got to the 9000.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's difficult, you know, it's a product like that for basically I wouldn't say one-man band, but I'm not actually familiar with how big he was at that time. But I suspect that it was difficult to market, make, and design and support all these things. So it seemed a natural marriage between the two, because Akai had all those things that could, you know, in manufacturing and product hardware design. So Roger could concentrate on one thing, and I think that was hugely beneficial. I've got to say, I think they rushed it out a bit, because version 1, the dreaded version 1.
Yes.
We had 6 months of, say, an interesting 6 months. I will say that I think those people that bought an MPC 60 in that time, you know, became our really good friends. I've got to say, they really did. I mean, I know a lot of people from that time, and you know, it wasn't plain sailing at the beginning, but what a product! I mean, it had a real groove, a real groove to it. That's something that was very high. I mean, apart from the physical interface, which was wonderful, and it just worked and made lovely music, and that's what happened. People just loved it.
Yeah, and of course it's kind of responsible in no small part to the kind of the I won't say the creation of a musical genre, but the popularization of hip hop and R&B as we kind of know it today. It was either, you know, an Akai MPC, or maybe it was an EMU, you know, SP12 or the 1200. But the MPC really became the big thing for that hip hop community, and it kind of exploded from there. And so once you'd done the Mark II 60, it then went on to, you know, the 2000s and so on and so forth, and you were just adding more and more features, and it was just becoming this dominant must-have tool for a genre of music. Was that limiting in any way, or was that just because it was so successful within that genre and that community that you didn't really care that it wasn't being used elsewhere?
How do you mean used elsewhere?
Well, I mean, it was synonymous with that genre of music rather than. I mean, I know that. I mean,
Oh, I see.
Steve would tell me that he'd get phone calls from people like Mark King from Level 42 because he couldn't get it to work. And I know Mark King still uses one today. Peter Gabriel still uses one, I believe. But it's so synonymous with that community. I just wondered if that was a hindrance or whether it was just just so successful you didn't really care that it was just being focused on in one area.
Well, I think there again, when you've got something new like that, there's a bit of that involved in hoping it's a bit of success, because it's okay looking back at it and saying, well, obviously it was, but you don't know that when you've got a new product. Someone can come out with something. I'll tell you a story in a second about that. But the MPC, well, what was there on the market at the time? Yamaha had their sequencer, and it's just, again, it was a combination of usability and the groove that made it a success at the time. I was going to say actually that when sorry, I'm going to change the subject slightly, but Sequential had a 16-bit stereo sampler, which never came out, as far as I know, under their label. But Yamaha then bought them. Yeah. And we thought, oh, Yamaha are going to bring out, a super 16-bit stereo sampler.
Yeah.
Never happened.
Yeah, because their sampler at that time was the TX. What was it called? I can never. The TX16W. That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
Which sounded great, but was an absolute dog to program, wasn't it? So.
Well, there you go. You see, that's the other thing, isn't it? You need to be able to use something, and the more obstacles in the way will stop you doing it the next time.
Yeah.
But the MPC, wow! I mean, if you had an MPC and you could do loops on an S950, I mean, you were away, really, weren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It was. I honestly, I mean, I have to say, I worked with Steve on a bunch of libraries for the 1000 and the 500 and the 5000, I think. And I had a couple here, and I never gelled with them. It just didn't fit the way my brain worked. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I completely get how great it is, and when I see people who know how to use it, they do amazing things with it, and I can't fault it. But me personally, I just couldn't grasp the concept. Ben, were you ever an MPC person?
I've never had one. I was wondering, did the success of the MPC dwarf the rack sampling kind of sector? It didn't.
No.
That's good to hear.
We used to see a lot of people with an MPC and a 1000 or a 2800. It used to be they used to pair them up because it then gave them a bigger scope, I suppose. But,
it always seemed as though it wasn't for my style of music. It did seem to be adopted a lot by people producing hip hop and stuff like that, and it kind of didn't really seem as though it'd be that much use to me. But now I realise they're capable of a lot more than that, and I could have made it do anything I wanted to, but I didn't realise that at the time. So it was like, oh, let the hip hop people use that. I'll stick with me.
And I think also, if you use it as a drum machine, it's almost an insult to the genius of the design. That to use it as a drum machine is just like, well, God, it could do so much more. But I mean, I've seen people with an MPC sampling stuff in, and then just like hitting the pads, and they're dialing and they're slicing and they're making things fit, and it's just like a continuous thing. And then all of a sudden they press play, and there's a great beat and a groove and a
it's amazing what
incredible
they can do with it.
Absolutely incredible machine. And it's obviously it's still going strong today in other forms. So that was sort of the back end of the 80s, and the one thing I was going to ask about the sampler range, there was an S1000 keyboard version, which is about as big as my dining room table. Massive thing.
There you go.
Yeah. And then that was it. There was never, I don't think there was any other Akai keyboard sampler after that, whereas, other manufacturers, Korg, and to a lesser extent maybe EMU as well,
Roland
did the keyboard stuff. Was there a deliberate decision not to go down that route? Were rack samplers just doing the business and there was no need, or did the S1000 keyboard fail, or was there any sort of reason behind that?
Yes, there was a reason, and that's that MIDI was developing rapidly and controller keyboards were becoming very capable, and dare I say innovative, the way that they worked. And also from a price point of view, if you could buy a sampler in a rack, because let's face it, what they really were dedicated computers, right?
Yes.
Using the processor and memory that you needed to do that. Later, of course, that you were doing it on your computer. But so at the time, from a price point of view, it was cheaper to have a rack-mounted devices, in fact, and a controller keyboard.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just price. I think there's all sorts of things. Did you imagine? The S1000 KB, as it was called, was huge. Mainly because they hadn't redesigned the sampler at all. Really, it just sat in the middle of this big aircraft wing kind of thing.
Yeah,
it was huge.
Yeah, and it was expensive because it was a lot of hardware. So
yeah,
I think the answer is just the simplest one, really. That price was a big consideration, and space. You didn't have hundreds of keyboard. Well, I'm saying that you'll do actually, but.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean it clearly didn't do Akai any harm, because they just continued this winning streak of, the S 2800, the 3000, the 3200, at the budget end you had the S2000, the S01. There was a sampler for everyone. If you were starting out, or if you're a pro, if you're gigging, or you're doing stuff in the studio, there was a model for everyone. It was just this kind of industry standard. No, Rich in the chat mentioned that EMU were probably more a consumer standard, but I guess was there a distinct split in terms of popularity of Akai stuff in the UK and Europe, and EMU being an American company having more of a market share over there at the time? Was that a thing?
It was a huge difference in philosophy between the two companies. Akai were very, and I can say this because I work for both companies. Akai really listened to the customers. EMU were more the other way around, where they said, "We'll make it and they'll come." Completely the opposite kind of philosophy. And I think that sort of slight specialness stuck around EMU quite a lot, whereas Akai was, ready to, I don't mean fight exactly, but to go after where the business was. So there was a larger business element to it. EMU was more, I don't want to down EMU. I mean, EMU was a fantastic company. It was just a complete difference in philosophy. Do you want me to jump over to when I was there?
Well, I was going to say that kind of works as a nice little segue. So, you finished at Akai in '95. Tell us about that ending, and then how you moved into EMU.
Well, EMU, Roy Gowdy, who was running EMU in the UK, heard I was looking for a job, because Akai was being taken over. This is Akai corporately, Akai Electric was being taken over by a Chinese company, and they decided to get rid of all the management. Right. I'm trying not to say expensive management, but that's really what I do mean, because sorry, that's not uncommon when companies get taken over. The first thing they do before they get taken over is they reduce the wage bill, all this sort of thing, so that it makes more sense on the accounts. So Roy came up to me and we talked, and I've known Roy for ages. He's Roy. He's another one-off, really. So I went to work for Roy, and it was at a time when Akai became a bit vulnerable, really, because they were concentrating on other products a lot, which took away a lot of the design manpower from samplers to their direct-to-disc recording products, Akai Digital brand.
Was that the DD1000?
Yeah, DD1000 onwards. Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story about David Cochran in a minute about that. Anyway, so we went to EMU, and you know, you're in a different company. You have to work for that company, and obviously, I knew that the S5000, the S6000 were going to take a while. And I didn't mention the sound library at Akai, by the way, because that's probably worth mentioning to come back to. But at EMU, I remember Roy and I walked into the guy that did all the sounds for EMU, and I don't know how many CD-ROMs he had. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of EMU-sourced sounds. And we looked at each other because I'd done a deal at Akai like that with 10 CD-ROMs at one point.
Yes.
So we bundled 20 CD-ROMs with the newly formed E6400, which was basically a stripped-down E4, and it went through the roof. You know, because people want to put a disc in and have quality sounds, and that's what happened. Do you mind if I just jump back a bit to the beginning? Because
not at all.
Steve, we were talking about Steve Howell, and I did mean to mention that one of the again, something that we didn't plan for, but something that kind of became apparent after Steve and a few other people had given us the 50 discs for the deal. We ended up with, let's say, 200, 250 discs. And somebody said, I need some sounds. Can I come in and copy them? Well, before you could turn around, this had accelerated to, we had 4 workstations and a waiting list of about 3 months. Wow. It was incredible. Why the competition didn't do that as well, I don't know. I really don't know, because it cost next to nothing, really. And we had contact with all our customers.
Of course.
It was fantastic. You know, and we'd chat with them, make them coffee and get them lunch. And, you know, day after day, we had people, probably 4 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon. So 8 different people every day in, day out, copying sounds. I mean, that was a huge thing. So when I went to EMU, obviously this was still on my mind, and you know, a lot of people do sample, but a lot of people don't want to play back. Really, that's really
exactly. Yeah. So E6400 was one of the first things that you worked on at EMU. Do you have any, or was it before that? Or?
Well, the ESI 32.
Oh yeah.
I was talking to one of the engineers and saying, it'd be great if it had more voices. He said, well, we can give it 64 voices now. So, well, can you do that then? For next week? Sort of, you know. And they did. That became the ESI 64. Yeah. Just like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then, I mean, the EMU products, probably in some respects superior to Akai in terms of filters and but you know, when I mean, let's face it, people are parting with their money, and price is important. And the E6400, they could buy all the boards and all the accessories they wanted with it. But the starting price, I don't remember what it was now, but it was a lot lower than it was previously. And it just went through the roof, literally went through the roof. It was very exciting again.
Yeah. And there was all that invention with, so you had the E4XT that also had the RFX boards in, which were really super powerful. And then there was the Paris system as well that came.
Oh, Paris was amazing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it came at the wrong time when the company wasn't able to make the most of it for, I don't actually know, but it was, you know, money was one of them, obviously. And maybe understanding would be another one. You know, it wasn't produced here; it was designed somewhere else, and I think that was a stumbling block as well. But a combination of things. But it was a great product.
Yeah. So were you around at EMU at the time that they then got swallowed up into the Creative Labs?
I actually joined them after they were part of Creative.
Oh, okay, right.
We were, yeah.
Yeah. How did that work out? Because it didn't seem to end particularly well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the big company syndrome that, you know, don't understand it. You know, you're a niche product, all these things, because Creative had MP4 player, MP3 player, sorry, MP3 player, and I don't know what happened to it. I don't think it came out. I'm not sure anyway, but. So they can talk, but yeah, there was a lack of. I mean, I think gradually, you know, facilities were withdrawn from EMU, and you know, cracking lot of people though they were, you know, very dedicated. And I mean, it was funny going from Akai, which was, well, where we were, very London, to Northern California, which is all no shoes and, you know, ponytails.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, it's a real big difference in terms of culture but the products, Akai and EMU, you'd think, you know, do very similar sorts of things, but they all both had a distinct following, a distinct interface paradigm, and like you said, the filters on the EMUs were superior. I think is probably they were much better. I mean, I've got the Emax 2 here, and those digital filters are as good as any analog filters of the day. They're just so good. And then the Z-Plane stuff that came out later was just really just incredible things. Do you think, looking at both of those companies, you know, hardware sampling as we went from the 20th to the 21st century, the bottom just kind of fell out of it because everyone was doing stuff on a computer, and both companies, you know, suffered a, you know, ill fate. Do you think? I mean, obviously that was down to everyone moving into the software world. Why didn't they keep up? Was it just because they were like massive oil tankers and couldn't turn quick enough to you know, adapt to the market, or were they stubbornly entrenched in this thing? Hardware samplers are the best, and we're going to keep going down, you know, keep trying with those.
Well, as processors got faster and memory got cheaper, then it became, you know, from a user point of view, you want to use your computer because you can use the sequencing and really the hardware produced by the likes of Akai and EMU was never going to get any cheaper. And you were actually making, as I said earlier, a dedicated computer. So the only logical thing you can do then is to make software that works in a PC or a Mac, but that sells at, say, 250 quid instead of 2,500.
Yeah.
So your turnover goes through the floor. Whatever you do, you'd have to go into something completely different. I think. I think, you know, they were the. I don't want to say golden days. I was just talking about that earlier. I think that the hardware produced specifically for something, it's still got a value today. People still exchange Akai and EMU samplers for quite reasonable money. Yeah. So they haven't lost that appeal. But the companies, what were they going to do? They had to move into other areas, and Akai was moving fast into the film market and made a serious error, really. And they took a wrong turning. EMU. Well, I think that was more to do with probably the governing factors there of the company that owned them.
Yes.
You know, lost interest or didn't have any real interest. I think they bought EMU for the technology. Well, they did.
Yes, definitely.
And I think that was the one reason. I think they just let it go for as long as they wanted to, and then rounded up.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it did feel like that because I got into EMU at that time. And I remember buying Emulator-X, their software sample, thinking, yeah, best of both worlds. EMU technology, compatible with all that old library, but, you know, a modern-day software sampler. And it was pretty rough to start with. You know, the copy protection. You had to have EMU hardware plugged into your machine. And then by the time they got rid of that, it'd fallen by the wayside in terms of, you know, other things were just doing it better and cheaper. And it died of a pretty rapid death, which was quite sad. Before we move on to what you're doing now, which I really do want to speak about, was there anything else in the chat question-wise, guys?
Yeah, there was actually. There was a question from Sasquatch who wondered why the colour. Why was everything white?
Why Akai beige?
Can I say that was an absolute bitch to copy that colour? It's actually brown.
Right.
If you analyse, it was. We wanted to make racks and all sorts of accessory stuff in UK, and to get the colour right was just impossible. Absolutely impossible. But it was just to look different, that was all. Because at the time when Akai was launched, I think just about everything was black.
Yes.
So having products that stood out in the rack was quite important.
That makes
Although
sense.
the S612 was black, but the
Yeah.
S900 was that brown colour.
Yeah.
Beige.
Oh,
Yeah.
brown. Yeah, I've never. Yeah, I have
It
to
was
look at that.
beige.
Yeah, quite. But the thing is, I mean, I'm into my Fairlights, and certainly the Series 2 was this hospital beige, and I just always wondered maybe that was somebody somewhere thinking, well, the Fairlight was beige, maybe we should make our stuff beige, but clearly not. There you
I
go.
don't think so. I think that was just an internal Japanese decision.
Yeah. Yes.
In fact, I was there when they decided it, so I know.
Was there anything else in the
Yes.
questions?
The Akai Pro magazine ad campaigns were quite arty at the time. Guys lovingly embracing various Akai products. Did you have anything to do with that? And if so, what were you thinking? It's not me, this. This is from Ben from MUZE.
I'm not sure about guys lovingly embracing. I did all the. I didn't personally design all the ads, but I was responsible for all of them. Yeah, I don't remember that at all. We had. I'm trying to think what that was about. Yeah, anyway. When I'll tell you when I first joined the company, as I say, it was about a year into it, and the advertising agency had talked them into having a double-page spread with all sorts of weird and wacky things like a duck, a road drill. I still don't know why. Anyway, so I joined and used someone else, and over the 10 years, I suppose I used probably 4 different agencies.
Yeah.
And I think we did. Oh, let's face it, you don't have to like advertising. Does it work or not?
Yeah.
And sometimes people go, oh, I don't like that. Well, it doesn't matter whether you like it or not. Does it sell product? That's what it's for. Sorry, I know we're all musicians and we like our RT things, but advertising is for one purpose only, and that's to sell products. In this case, it was anyway. Yeah. And I think we did some really, really nice ads that were. I was going to say embracing. Then you set me off now.
Well, if you want to see any of the classic Akai ads, along with adverts from all the manufacturers of the day, the MUZE's website that Ben is responsible for, muzenes.co.uk, is a fantastic resource. We always talk about it. It's absolutely brilliant. We've just made Ben a moderator in the chat so he can. Look, what have we got here? Here we go.
That is an ad with, you can see the S3000, S01, S2000, 1100, 3000. So that's an ad that we did that ran in, what would it be? Well, Sound on Sound.
Sound, yeah.
And the other music technology magazines at the time. So
I think I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
Staring at it for hours and hours.
Yeah.
How am I going to get the money together for these?
Yeah.
All of
Sound
them.
on Sound, 1-2 testing, all that stuff. Well, say if you want to check out all those magazines, not just the adverts but also the articles as well. Ben's posting the links in the chat now because he's now our new magazine link editor of our chat room. There you go. MUZE's website is just a fantastic resource of printed content, all archived there. So yeah. Do go along and support that. So, right, let's get to probably the real reason that you're here, with fantastic history and just fascinating hearing from it. But that era of Akai, 85 to 95, that you're involved, you are now in the process of documenting that for the purposes of a book. Is that correct? Yes.
I was made. My son is a documentary maker. And he said to me, have you seen how many Akai sites there are, on social media, different pages and groups, whatever. And I had noticed 1 or 2. It was only looking through, we realised how many thousands of people were on all these sites. And one thing led to another. And a way that people fund things these days is by crowdfunding. And Anthony's used Kickstarter and other ones before that. So he's somewhat of an expert. He's done it so many times. He knows how to do it effectively. And I have written a book before.
Okay.
Damn good plugging.
The semi-pro
That's-
60s. There we go.
That's actually my I interviewed over 50 people for that.
Wow.
All people that were semi-pro musicians, not pro musicians in the 60s, and it was a lot of fun doing it. And I did it because I wanted to.
Yeah.
And it's now on Amazon as an ebook, $3.99.
Lovely.
If you want one. And I give a talk on it as well, so that's quite. So when it came to Akai, Akai is very close to my heart. I built it up from nothing to where it was when I left. And the people were fantastic. I mean, just fantastic. Wonderful to work with and socialise with, and we were successful at the same time. There's nothing like that sort of combination to make it even more fun. And the contacts, the people I'm still in touch with now. So anyway, one thing led to another, and I took a deep breath and thought, right, once I start, I've got to be serious about this and do it properly. So I started mapping out what I would like to see in the book. The people, the David Cockrells, the Chris Huggetts, Steve Howells. The salespeople too were very much a part of this, and because when we started, we didn't really know what we had, and neither did anybody else really, because everyone said Fairlight or Synclavier. So when we started, we were very much, what's the word, ploughing our own furrows. But anyway, so I look back on it, I thought, no one knows about this. It's a fantastic story with great people, innovation, and so I thought, I'm going to do this. So I started contacting people in Japan and David Cockrell and Roger Lynn, and they all went, "Yep, do it." Literally everyone I've spoken to has said, "You've got to do this." And because I was really in the middle of it all, I'm not the only one that can do it, but I've written all my life, and I feel I can have a good go at it, and I've got a proper editor, and I know, do the graphics. In other words, I know how to put this book together. But first of all, you have to launch it on, in this case, Kickstarter. There's lots of things to do. So we've already had a photo session this week.
Nice.
Making our own photos. And it's starting to move, and I'm contacting people, and I've got a whole list of people that want to participate already. I'm talking about artists, producers, as well as people that I work with. So it's just very exciting. I'm trying to launch it on the 1st of October. That's the plan.
Okay, cool. And so this is going to cover that decade that you were there, and talk about the people that were involved and those kind of the stories, the folklore, I guess, of
it's a
what
good
went on.
period to do, because it's from the beginning. So you can say why, what happened, why, and all these different genres of music that we were talking about that started, drum and bass and all the other things. And so it's our rock and roll, isn't it? We lived through that, and it inspired something. Going back to talk about Casio earlier on, getting people to play keyboard. I mean, they've all moved through all of this, and it's just a story that it would be a shame to lose it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be great to document it and get all these things down. It was a lot of fun, a lot of innovation, a lot of right decisions taken for the right reasons, and I think that sums Akai up actually. That's
There's some really great characters as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
So are you looking for anything in terms of assistance, of help, of people with equipment that you might need to photograph, or is there anything that we, the great unwashed, can do to help you?
Well, invest in it. In all seriousness, I mean, as you know, I asked for people to supply products, and that was incredible. I mean, we did the shoot on Wednesday, so that came up really, really, really well. What next? Well, contacts is actually the thing. There are a few people that I would really like to talk to. Norman Cook would be one of them. I've talked to a lot of people. It's just that, to being frank, to launch something on a crowdfunding site, you need to have names that people recognise and revere. And if you can get that, I mean, I've got a lot already, but it'd be nice to. I mean, one thing you probably don't know is we had an arrangement with Duran Duran in about 1990 or odd, where we supplied all the equipment they produced managed to be their comeback album,
Wow.
which was great, and had a hit Ordinary World.
Yeah.
That was all on our equipment, digital,
Wow.
multi-track and sampling. It was wonderful. John Jones, who produced that, is going to be in the book.
Nice.
So
Well,
it's that sort of contact. If anybody has anybody that would like to contribute, I'm all ears. I would really like to know. Yeah.
So you're part of but you're part of the Facebook group that we have, the Pro Synth Network Facebook group. So if anybody is watching and can supply David with any contacts or information, you can reach out to him there. You can get in touch with us at Pro Synth Network, and we can forward stuff on to him. So there's many ways of doing it, and of course, as soon as the Kickstarter launches, we'll be promoting the hell out of that on the page, because I want to, because I'm a fanboy and I'm going to buy that, and I really I have a small tenuous connection with that story, and it's still very dear to my heart. And in fact, your coming on the show made me reconnect my S6000, and the last few days I've been getting back into that in a really big way, and just remembering how great it was to use as an instrument. So if you got any help, if you know Norman Cook, or you know somebody that knows Norman Cook, that would be a great one to start with. If we can get David in touch with those people, that'd be fantastic. Before we let you go, because we're sort of gone past the first hour, there were a few more questions.
Oh, yes, fine.
If we can throw those at you. Do you want to take those, boys?
Yeah, I'll read the first one out at least. Dieter Volk again wants to know, what about the Akai analogs like the AX73, the AX80, the VX600, and the AX60? Were these designed by Cockrell or in Japan?
No, they were designed in Japan.
Okay.
Right.
They were, well, frankly, I think they're because they felt they had to have. Well, there's processing, of course, from sampling as well, which is the VX 90, whatever. But there was a few. The X73 wasn't particularly successful. The X80 was interesting at the beginning, right at the very beginning. In fact, the technology was actually quite fun, but nothing really sold that much. It was all sampling, really.
Yeah.
Wow.
What else we got?
Quite desirable now, those synths.
They are.
Yes,
Yeah. I mean,
weird.
well, the AX73 has just recently been done in software by Martinique in Holland.
Yeah.
They've done an AX73 plugin, which is a lot of fun. We actually gave a few copies away, didn't we? When we had that?
Yeah.
Do you want to do the next one?
If David could change or add some features to the Akai samplers back then, what would they be, assuming tech restrictions?
Oh, it'd have to be memory, wouldn't it? I mean, that's one thing. I think the. Although I've got to say that, as I touched on earlier, the restrictions of memory was an incredibly good teacher. It made you very, very careful about what you did. But I think memory would have to be the. I mean, back in late 80s, 16 megabytes of RAM retailed at £1,000.
That's crazy.
So I'd say more memory and cheaper.
Yes.
Yeah. And Wagyu wants to know, were there any Akai or EMU expansion modules planned that never made it to market? Same for any products that never made it to market.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Nothing jumps out at me actually.
Yeah.
Nothing particularly jumps out at me. I think probably one or two things. I was thinking of Darwin at EMU and things like that. That made it to the market, but were never really supported enough or couldn't be to be successful. I don't know. That's a good question. Not that I can think of at the moment. No.
Okay.
Brilliant. Anything from you, Kent? Have you got any burning questions you want to put to David before we say goodbye?
No. Do you know what? Because this is an area that was always. I was standing in the other queue, and everybody else had these, and I was going down a completely different road at the time. Weirdly.
What road in particular are you talking about?
Well, when it came to sampling, I never really got off the Mirage from '86. I was still on that, and then I started messing around with the older stuff, and it was, you know, so it was all string synths and stuff, and it was like really sort of like old guy stuff, you know. It's like, do you know? And the people who had, because I don't know whether it was me, but you had people who had Akai were the cool guys, and the people who had emus were sort of like the posh guys.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you had the Akai, you were hip, you were now. But if you had the emus, you were ponytails and called Vince. That kind of thing, you know? Yeah, do you know what I mean? There's these two schools of thought about a wrapped around machine. I did experience an S1000 and started to learn how to use it, and found it a fantastic piece of machinery. It was too expensive for me. I was borrowing it, and of course the bloke had to take it back. And that was it. And I never really got around to getting back into that neck of the woods again.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of regretting it now.
It's funny because I remember that there was always this, you know, whenever there's a technology, VHS Betamax, Sega Mega Drive, Nintendo, Akai Emu, it was always that. And there was always this kind of friendly little rivalry between Akai users and Emu users. And we don't necessarily have that anymore because there's just, it's all very, you know, spread out now. There are no two big boys, you know, keeping each other on their toes and having users, you know, kind of inspire them to move on to bigger and better things. It's maybe it's something we miss in the industry. I don't know. Listen, David, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's a pleasure to finally meet you after, you know, hearing your name whispered in so many circles over the last, I don't know how many years, and reading it in sound on sound and all of that. It's absolutely fantastic. We wish you the very best of luck with this book. And if there is anything that we or our viewers, listeners, watchers can do to help you, then do let us know. We'll put the word out. We'll spread it far and wide. And when the book comes out, maybe you'd like to come on again and we can go through the book.
Thank you. Yeah, really
fantastic stuff.
I'm determined it's going to come out. I'm absolutely determined.
Yeah. And we can, oh, my Siri's just got over there. So yeah, fantastic. So as soon as you have that Kickstarter page, let us know. We'll put it up on our site. And if anybody, repeat that again. If anybody knows Norman Cook, if anybody can nip down to Brighton, knock on his door and say, "Oi, we need you," do let us know. But in the meantime, David, once again, thank you ever so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. And the very best of luck with the publication.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cheers, then, David. Take care. Have a great evening and a great weekend.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye. David Caulfield, everyone.
Whoa.
That was good. It was a good. It was a good insight into what was going on there at the time. Wasn't
Well, you're not going to get a better one from somebody. Shut up. There we go. You're not going to get a better one from someone who was right there at the coalface.
I know, yeah.
Liaising between, you know, the sound designers and the people behind the hardware design, and, you know, David Cockrell, Chris Huggett, Steve Howell, and there are more besides. I mean, I've always been an Akai fanboy.
No, really?
And I cannot wait for that book. I just want him to do it now. But it's just fantastic, and you know, it's one of those great things. So thank you, David, and we'll hopefully get David back on the show once the book is ready and published. And watch our page for news, and of course, if you have anything, if you think you've got something that David might be interested in, he is on the Facebook group. So if you join us there, you'll be able to see him and contact him. If not, just drop us a line. And the email for us, if you want to get in touch with us, is info@prosynthnetwork.com. So if you know something, have something, or maybe you know someone else, maybe you know Norman Cook, pass that email address on, and we will act as intermediaries. And we'll book him on the show at the same time.
No, I was just going to say exactly the same
Got to do that. Talking of which, did you manage to book anybody last week, like, you know, Mark Radcliffe and his mate, or?
Well, Paul out of Oon, me and him just like hit it off like best mates as soon as we met, really. And so I've got no problem getting him on. I reckon.
Cool.
It just felt like reunited with a long lost relative or something. It's mad.
Was it the hair?
Yeah, well, that was it. Mark Radcliffe said that we looked like Ronnie and Reggie Corbett together.
Oh, you got to get them both on. I mean, I'm sure Paul is absolutely fantastic, but Mark Radcliffe,
he's dead funny. Yeah,
he's a hero
I'm sure
of
they
mine.
would. And check Oon out as well, because I had this, like Mark Radcliffe has done all this stuff in the past, like the Shire artists and all this.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be some sort of like piss take of electronic music, like a jokey kind of craft work or something like that. Oh wow, it is 100%. It's a little bit tongue in cheek, but only slightly. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but it is very, very credible electronic music. And Mark Radcliffe is.
There you go.
I didn't realise how good a musician he is. He's a great musician as well. Well, they both are.
Yeah.
I definitely recommend doing. They're a brilliant band. They've got a few albums under the belt. Their idea about music is really on a similar wavelength to mine. I really enjoy listening to what they're doing because that's what I want to do, but I'm not good enough. They are,
Their next show is at the Crankenhouse Festival at Muncaster Castle, or Muncaster Castle, if you come from up there, in the Fells of the Western Lake District, a week on Saturday. So you can go and see them there.
Check them out if you're up there.
Yeah,
They're great.
I'm definitely going to do that. Yeah, and of course, I mean, Radcliffe was that's him on the right there. For anybody that doesn't know Mark Radcliffe,
There's me brother.
there's your brother on the left. But Mark Radcliffe was, apart from being a great radio presenter and probably one of the best Radio 1 breakfast jocks, along with Lard, he was also John Peel's sessions producer for a number of years. So he knows his onions. He really does.
Oh yeah.
And of course, he's won his hopefully he's won his battle against cancer, which he had a little battle with, but he's come through
He looked
that.
he looked in fine health.
He did,
I
yeah.
didn't mention it, but
good.
he looked great.
Yeah, I was gutted when that was announced, and I thought,
Oh,
God.
and going back to the guest thing, Martin said that he would love to come back on.
We'd love to have
pretty
him
soon, really.
Yeah.
Because he's got the book out, and
Yes, of course. That's
but he really
in a couple of
enjoyed
weeks.
it, and he can't wait to come back on.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. Excellent stuff. We didn't put him off. Yay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like, is it Francesca, his keyboard player?
Yes,
The MD, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to get her on. 'Cause
I
I wanted
wonder
to get
why.
Berenice on. No. Well, no, because they've always had a great MD, and before
Yeah,
Francesca, it was Berenice Scott, Robin's daughter.
Yeah.
And she plays with Simple Minds now. I mean,
she's brilliant. She was
she's
brilliant.
none
Well,
too shabby,
Francesca was as well.
yeah, we need to get these people on. These are people at the coalface again. There's me using that term. Yeah, we definitely need to get these people on.
Yeah.
Shall we do some news?
Aye.
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to, before the last thing we'll mention about David Caulfield, who again, wonderful guest, but if you are interested in his first book, The Semi-Pro 60s, it is available on Amazon for a mere $5.29 in paperback. There it is. So if you are interested in hearing about that and the stories of semi-pro musicians in the 1960s, there it is on Amazon. Go for it. Right. I heard the criticism levelled at one of our, what should we call them? Another synthesizer show on the internet, that it was boring this week. And I was like, really? But it's because there's not a huge amount of news. So it's not too bad that we've only got about 40 minutes left, because there's not a vast amount to go through. What do you think we should start with? What do you reckon?
Well, I think there's one biggish story, isn't it?
You think?
Out of them, yeah.
Shall we roll videotape? Shall we? Let's do that. You'd think I'd be prepared for this shit. Here we go. This is new from Cherry Audio. How's about that then, guys and girls? What a that's a really. I like the tune on that. Whoa! Oh, I liked it so much I started it again. Do you think I get used to doing all this? Oh, right. Elka-X. It's not like that was a difficult one to work out from the clues.
Well, I got it wrong, didn't I?
You did, didn't you?
I thought it was a Juno when it just had 22 of them stripes on it, even though they already had a Juno. I don't know why I thought.
There were different Junos. But it is Elka-X, which is based off of the Elka Synth-X, of course, which Kent has sitting right behind him. Look at that, leaning up against the wall. He's shifted hands out of the way, look. Now, you moved your head, the camera moves with you. It's not that clever. Look at that.
No.
Can't use Synth-X tracking.
We've
been lucky. We've been playing with this for a couple of weeks now. And I think... I don't know about you, Ben, because I haven't spoken to you, but Kent and I both agree that this is an instrument that makes you want to play it and do stuff with. Yeah. Would you concur, Mr. Simpson?
Yes. Now, the reason I say that is that in trying it out, it's actually led to the creation of quite a few musical ideas, you know.
There you go.
Where there's only the Synth-X in it, really. Synth-X and battery. They're the only two things in it. And I've got quite a few, chord sequences, bass lines, melodies going on. And it's all really through this synth. So, yeah, I agree totally that it is quite an inspiring bit of kit, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Kent, your thoughts? I've never been in the presence of a functioning Elka Synth-X. Never laid hands on one, other than I think I saw the one that you've got back there standing in the infamous garage or the shed or something when I was there last. So, with somebody who's clearly had ears on an original, and you've had ears on this, your thoughts on it as a direct comparison to start with?
As a direct comparison, it's very close. It's very close indeed. It's as close as most VSTs, as plugins are to their, their parent that they're following. But it really, with this particular instrument, it's the first one I come across where it isn't the point. It's just not the point. Some of the iconic sounds on it, laser harp.
Yeah.
Yes, it's incredibly close, but like I said last night, you're not going to use it. Not on a track, because people are going, laser harp, like that as soon as you do. So it doesn't matter. It has all the essences and impact of an original Synth-X.
Yeah.
It certainly does.
It has a character, doesn't it?
Yes, but there's something about the machine that when you just go through the presets, and you're just trying out a few little things, it's somehow there's so many sounds on it, or the way it sounds, just trigger off little things in the hindbrain. It can lead you down, a path to just be slightly creative for once, and just come up with something simply just by scrolling through the presets. Yeah. And there has not been many software instruments that have done that. OBE did it, Zebra 2 did it for me, and now this. And this obviously is the cheapest of the bundle. I mean, it's
a fraction of the price.
Yeah, exactly. So
there's a lot
really
of snobbery, isn't there, around presets? The fact, don't use presets. Stuff that if somebody's gone to great time and trouble, which clearly they have with this. Sorry, I just noticed my light's a little bit dim. They've clearly gone to a lot of trouble. I'm going to bloom well use them. And when they're as good as this, they really have done the business on these presets. Now, I don't know. I think James Dyson was one of the guys. Of course, he's in our group, and he's done a lot of work with these guys and Modal as well, a bunch of others. So there's some of his work in here, but there's some amazing stuff. And you and I actually last night, because I put together a little 5-minute ditty, didn't I, that we played at the beginning of your broadcast last night, which everyone thought was you. I wasn't offended much. No.
No. I think it was only because I'm normally playing every now and again.
Yes.
So it's just been. They thought it was me by association, and not looking at the point of. It goes, well, it's got a rhythm. It's got a rhythm in it, you know, and things like this, and it's kind of up tempo. So why would that be me?
But the funny thing was, one patch inspired that little thing.
Yeah.
And you said, as soon as you heard it, oh yeah, as soon as I played that, I wanted to write something around that. And it's this. Which is using the Synth-X's 4-track sequencer that comes with this as well. And it's just, there's just something about that one patch. And all right, somebody else has programmed that. That's not an original thing from me. But screw that, I'm going to use that as the basis.
But it led you down a road.
And it led
you down a road. It got you thinking and got you being creative for the first time.
Exactly. And, you know, they have, of course, they've had to include things like, and, you know, plug your ears for this. Should be up here. There you go. Now we get a copyright strike. But, you know, there's the laser harp. That's in there. There's some more Jean-Michel Jarre based stuff in there. With this, because it's got these splits as well, so you can, you know, have that going in the lower register and then up and high. There's Vangelis-y stuff in there. There's some really nice kind of stringy, analog stringy stuff. What else we got? There's a couple of others that really. Oh yeah, this one was quite a nice one. It would help if I actually changed the preset. There's just that movement that's in there. It's just. It's great. And
there's
the effects
also
in there.
There's
as
a
well.
patch in there actually, where I think it's purely by accident, because I think by the name of the patch, it doesn't sound very guitar-y. I think they've called it some sort of bass sound. But it actually is so close to the Guitar 1.2 on the CS80.
Oh right.
And you've got it. It's kind of like it's really there, you know.
Yeah.
But it's named in such a way we think maybe they didn't know how much that actually does sound like an 80, you know, or maybe they did, and they've been very coy about it.
There's some great sequences, some great pads, some great leads in there. You know, obviously the obvious one we've just heard. It's such a great instrument. It really is.
Yeah, I was massively surprised.
Yeah, and they've done it again. $39. And if you know your onions, go watch Kent's show from last night, where I tell you how you can get it maybe legitimately a little bit cheaper using one of the sort of online retailers of plugins. So yeah, it's but even at $39, which is down from, you know, the main price of $59, it's just an incredible bargain. It really is. Yeah. We're seeing. I mean, they're adding stuff to their collection all the time, which is just fantastic. And it's a real. I mean, we often talk about, you know, roots into this kind of thing, into this, you know, into this world of music technology. It's a really affordable way, the Cherry Audio way, to get into, to have, you know, all of those synths that they offer.
Yeah.
And you can buy, you know, you can probably maybe spend $100 and get 4 or 5, depending on the price. Really, really useful, powerful instruments that will have you make music for days.
It sounds quite analog in its sound, which is kind of ironic considering that the Synth-X isn't an analog synth in the true sense of the word.
Not in the true sense, no.
It has Curtis 3320 filters, you know, one per voice and everything, but the rest of it's pretty much digitally run.
Yeah.
So, and that's why all the Synth-X's actually do sound the same, because you can't lose the presets. They're encoded into the EPROMs. So
Andrew Longhurst has asked, is there any bundle price? I think they did have some kind of bundle thing.
I think they've done offers in the past, and I also think there is somebody in the chat who might be able to respond to that. Robert from Cherry Audio is lurking, so maybe Robert can But we could also ask Dan and Mitchell, who are both coming back on the show. We love these guys. They're coming back September 16th to tell us a bit more about this and what else might be coming up down the line. I noticed Syntor's latest video is featuring Dan as well, so you can go and watch that on Syntor's YouTube channel. But yeah, we'll be talking to Dan and Mitchell on September the 16th. It's only a few weeks away now. But yeah, go and get it. It's just, I mean, pretty much everything they do is a no-brainer. This really is the no-brainer of no-brainers.
Yeah. You're not going to spend a better 39 quid on anything musical, are
No,
you, really?
I really do love this one.
Yeah, I've been playing with it almost constantly. It's fantastic. There you go. So, here's a hint. Bundles are a nice Christmas present.
Yeah.
So maybe Santa will bring you something in his sack. So yeah, but even so, I mean, I know that some of the plug-in online retailers are doing deals and stuff, so you might be able to get something there. But maybe that's something we can look forward to. But yeah, go and fill your boots with Cherry Audio's new Elka-X is the name, and it's available at cherryaudio.com and a bunch of other retailers. I was just trying to find the webpage, but I can't. But you know where it is, cherryaudio.com. Go and find that. Okay, let's. I was just going to throw this one in there because it's just so bleeding cute. We seem to be talking about Isla Instruments a lot just lately. The first thing I want to mention about Isla Instruments is that Brad is now a daddy. Look at that.
Oh.
So we're not going to hear from Brad for a little while. But yeah, congratulations from everyone here, Brad, on the new addition to the family.
Looks like a good one, that. Yeah.
It's as good a creation as the S2400, if not better. But there's that. But
although his new products might smell slightly funny.
yeah, if you get a nappy as the packaging. Yeah. But what I really wanted to focus on was this. So they've been developing this board that will go. It's basically an additional DSP module that will go into the S2400 and connect directly to the existing CPU board, running a very powerful quad-core ARM chip. And the intention is to be able to run multiple modified VST plugins, hoping to bring on third-party developers per 8 output channels, and also provide a second master bus that can have its own plugins. The emphasis here will be on top-notch useful effects. Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, come on. How cool's that?
It's genius, yeah.
Wow.
And that's forward thinking for him. I mean, clearly this was something that was in the mind when the S2400 was being developed. And now they're going to make it even. Oh, Jesus, I really want one. I really
pop the programs in on SD card as well. There,
yeah, there's
a slot there near the back.
Yeah.
Well, perhaps you can buy one in nappies now.
Yeah.
Just send him a load.
That's it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
There's a thought. We'll send him a gift bundle. Yeah. Oh, man, yeah. So I'm super excited about this because I love it when developers... It's like when Arturi did the Micro Freak, and then some while after they did the new version of the Micro Freak and said, do you know what? All along, that headphone input was also a microphone input.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, wow. And now it's a vocoder.
Yeah.
I mean, just I love forethought and foresight, and that was just brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is Isla Instruments S2400 expansion. It's all in early development. There's no dates. They're not committing to anything yet. And obviously, Brad's got his hands full, as we saw earlier. But what a fantastic thing. Dieter's in the chat saying chip shortage, and yeah, I get you. But what I'm hearing is a lot of people are now redesigning things around that. Don't forget though, Brad's in America. He's British, but he's in America, and they've just signed something into law that's going to help the chip industry over there. So there's less of a reliance on stuff around the other side of the world. So who knows? But they know what they're doing. They've just got a limited extra run of S2400s. I don't know if they've sold that out. I don't think I'm going to be able to get one, but yeah, there you go. Brilliant. Excellent ideas from Isla Instruments. Right, what else have we got? Oh yeah, there's talking of friends of the show, as we were with the Cherry Audio guys. Another friend for the of the show, the super talented Jim Daneker, has launched his Backstage Pass virtual instruments, now available all on Kontakt.
Hey.
And we love these. DX Streams, all right, yeah, you sold already, but it sounded great. It was really good, and of course the whole backstage environment meant it was superb for live gigging musicians. And you've now got all of these in Kontakt form. So that's DX Streams and the Blairmaster Signature Grand and the Best of VFX and
Nice.
and hopefully everything else. There, if you want to buy these, and why wouldn't you? There is a website now, because he's kind of handed over the retail aspect to a company called Multitracks. There we go. So if you go to multitracks.com and look for Jim Daneker under the producers tab there, then you'll find the bundles for Backstage Pass and Kontakt and the original Backstage Pass for Main Stage, all there. There's a whole bunch of demonstration tracks as well. But yeah, thought I'd give that a mention. Jim does some absolutely stunning work in sound design. There you go.
Was there a price on any of that? I didn't. Notice.
Let's have a look. Let's see. So let's pick DX Dreams. So DX Dreams is 24 gig in size. I think it's about $150. Whether you buy
worth it.
Yeah,
it's
that's
well worth it.
If you buy it for Backstage Pass, not only do you get that library, but you also get all the custom Touch OSC controller templates. So if you use Touch OSC to control it, it's a brilliant way of using it, especially live. $149.
Yeah, there's been a lot of work and love for the instruments gone into this collection.
Yeah,
worth it.
And I'm just checking the Kontakt price to see if that's, because that was the main stage Logic price. Yeah, because that's the other thing. It is built for main stage, but it will work directly in Logic as well. Yeah, it's $149 across the board. So whether you want Kontakt or main stage, but these also will work in Logic as a standalone. So yeah, that's cool.
Nice.
Yeah, so really, really good stuff there. So that's that. Let's see, what else have we got that we do? Oh, let's talk about some hardware. Let's talk about some modular. This is where I go, I don't know what I'm talking about. But Eventide. Eventide have launched a new module. And I'm desperately trying to... There it is. It's called Misha. And it's this. It's an interval-based instrument and sequencer for Eurorack, a new way to make music. Isn't it always a new way? But it kind of looks pretty. I'll give it that. It's got a nice little colour LCD in the middle there, and then these step functions. There is a fantastic video. I did get most of the way through Lupop's review of the Eventide Misha, so you can go and check that out. But I do have... I'm going to just jump around the screen here. I do have a demonstration video here. There it is. Let's have... No, that's the Cherry Audio one. Love to play that again. This is one thing I'd love to be able to queue up multiple tabs at the same time and then just go flick between, but no can do. Right, here we go. This is it. The first thing that struck me about that was, melody. It wasn't just bleepy bloopy. It was actually something. What Misha does apparently is kind of different in many ways. It uses this interval based approach, and rather than picking notes, you're picking steps through those intervals. My head didn't get completely around it, but it looked pretty. It sounds nice. Any thoughts on this? I mean, I know that we're not, between us, we're not really Eurorack people, but
when I saw it in the show topics, I thought, there's another one that I'm just going to have to pretend I know what I'm on about. It's like modular, and I just don't know anything about it at all. But I started with Luke Pop's video, which is excellent, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a little bit unclear about what this thing does, Luke Pop's video explains it wonderfully well. It's like I went into it thinking, not got a clue about this. I don't think it's anything that I'll benefit from in any way, shape or form. Watch the video, and by the end of it, I'm thinking, maybe I could actually use this. And basically what the main part of the video, what he was doing was he was picking scales. He was programming scales in on that LED section in the center. And then he's kind of jumping around the scales with that V of LED buttons.
Yeah.
You know. But what's really weird is if you press the same button twice, you don't get the same note. It'll jump that, say if you press the 4 button, it'll jump 4 steps in the interval that you've programmed in the LED, not semitones, whatever these predefined steps are. And you press it again, it'll jump another 4, so it'll go 8. And I imagine that to be an absolute nightmare to try and get a tune out of it. And at one point he does like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or something.
Yeah.
And it looks like really, really hard work to play. But what he does is he connects it by MIDI to his controller, and then that's when my eyes lit up then, because he was kind of playing notes like we all do. Nothing new there. But they weren't the notes that was expected. And it made the keyboard much more of a kind of, you feel your way around the melody, you know, what you're playing, you kind of sense where you're going. But it worked really well, and I thought I've got to have a go at that. It's a bit like when you get hold of a guitar and somebody's tuned it to some weird tuning, and then you suddenly think that you can play guitar, you know, it's like, whoa!
Yeah.
I've never been able to play chords like this. This is brilliant. It's a bit like that, and I think it's going to be great for the modular world doing sequence, because it's also a sequencer, and but it's not just about that. It's like, bring it into your setup and come up with there is, I mean, there's things in Cubase that'll, you know, the scale assistant and stuff will help you to do similar kind of things, but this just seems uniquely different to me, and I'm intrigued, really. I would like to have a go with this, and genuinely as well. I'm not just saying it for the sake of the show. I think, like, wow, this is a bit weird, and I want to see what happens when I mess with it. And I want to see what tunes come out.
I think I'm right in saying that this doesn't have any sound generating capabilities itself.
None.
You plug so you're going to have to buy this and something else to make noise. No pun intended. But yeah, I mean, if it can make Eurorack musicians a bit more tuneful, I'm all for it. I'm going to get so much crap for that.
Well, I think it's got loads of potential. It's one of them things that you make it work. You don't follow its kind of game plan. You make that work with yours, and it's really interesting, I think.
Yeah, I got, you know, like you say, when you're playing the different notes and it's not the notes you're expecting and stuff like that. I mean, there's a keyboard here in the workshop. Does something very, very similar to this unit. It's called Broken. That was it. No, what this reminds me of is the random seed algorithm that you have in the Karma engine.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It's very similar to that. And where you could put in the random seeds, and then it would start, sort of like you'll become a passenger by that point, and you can turn stuff on and off and stuff, and just see where it goes. And it's kind of like that aspect of Karma Engine, and they've made it into a nice, neat little module that you can use in Eurorack. So. And I mean, it's good. I mean, it's nice to be, Eurorack is getting a lot of stuff now. That you're going, oh, why haven't we got that in keyboards? That's not fair. Well, how come they got that? Yeah. And they're going, oh yeah, it was 269 quid. And you go, really? That's all you had to pay for it? Oh, bloody hell! We had to pay this much for this bloody thing. So, and that's what's good about it, because you can set it up and make it the synthesizer that you want.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I think is a brilliant aspect of it, but I'm just too old, too long in the tooth now to go. I can't go near Euro. I can't.
No, what you mean.
It's a rabbit hole I cannot fall down.
Yeah. No, I'm staying well clear. So there you go. That is the Eventide Misha. It's available now. It's $599. You can buy that directly from Eventide or all good synthesizer retailers, and a few bad ones as well, no doubt. Right, let's have a look. Let's see what's next. We've got about 10 minutes or so. Yeah, we'll do this. This is an interesting one. So I always keep my ear to the ground for a bargain, because I'm tight. I'm getting old, and what with the cost of living going through the roof, always up for a bargain. And this company, AudioPluginDeals, always get some really good deals. And I saw this one. This was the MUZE 6-in-1 massive acoustic bundle with a massive 97% off. So apparently the full price is $600. They've knocked 580 off. It's literally $20, which I guess in our money is about the same nowadays. There's not much in it, is there, really? But you apparently for your $20 you're going to get a couple of grand pianos, an upright piano, a Celesta, a harp, and an upright bass. Now 75 gigs worth of library content here, so there's a lot of stuff. But I've never heard of MUZE, and I put something up on the Facebook page. Has anybody else ever heard anything? And I think one person, Dave Bolden, actually got back to us and said, oh yeah, I've got a few of their things, they're pretty good. This offer is going on until, it's got another 9 days or so to go, 9.5 days to go, so I'm not going to rush into this. But I did have a listen to that. There wasn't a specific kind of promo video, there was like a run through. The Audio Plugin Deals guy has done like a run through, and they don't sound too bad. They're all Kontakt instruments, by the way, so you've got to have Kontakt first.
Do they work on Kontakt Player?
That's a very good question. Does it say?
I think they do.
Requires Kontakt retail version, so no.
No.
So that's going to be an obstacle if you're not into Kontakt. You can't just use these in the free player. But yeah, 75.5 gig. Yeah. But I mean, 6 acoustic instruments. I mean, all right, so 3 of them are pianos, albeit there's a couple of grands and an upright. Do we need any more? I know, Kent, you like your pianos.
I like collecting sample libraries, full stop.
Well, there you go.
I collect badges. I collect sample libraries.
Built-in effects, 33 gigabyte download, so it's all compressed, but then uncompressed once you install it. 6 and 10 channel mixers for changing sound and effect settings on each sound source. I mean, it does sound like one of those things, but sometimes you see these offers and they say full price £1,000. But it's never, you never see it on sale for full price. It's always 20 quid or something. And I'm always a little bit cautious, but this does actually seem, and I've never been ripped off by an Audio Plugin Deals deal before.
Well, what tends to happen sometimes, it's where they're rounding it up and they're moving on to version 3 and all this sort of thing.
And it expands the user base.
And they just say, come on, we can let these go now because we're working on the new one. And that's the time to grab the deals.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when they were launched, probably, the bundle would have cost you close to $1,000. Yeah.
I just wonder. I mean, do I need 3 more piano? I don't really have. I don't know if I've got a decent Celesta. Not that and probably the reason I haven't got one is because I probably wouldn't use one. Harp is always nice to have. I think it's always a nice little sound. And an upright bass, I've got Modo bass and other things. So I mean,
Modo.
I don't need this.
Have you got Modo bass too yet?
Yeah,
it's great.
It's very good.
I think when you got Spitfire's BBC SO, you're kind of there already anyway. But sometimes they just got the way it's been recorded, where the mic positions are and stuff like that. It's sort of like, oh yeah, that's nice. I like that.
It's always nice to have a little something different, But none of us are Ty Unwin, which might be a good thing. But
I couldn't look after that many cars.
No. All that body, who could? But sometimes, when this is your bread and butter, having something like this where you just think, oh, that's not working. Oh, I'll go and try this one, and it's only cost you $20. It could be the change between you being happy and unhappy with what you're doing. So, but I thought I'd put it out there, and if anybody knows about
I might try it, just because I don't think I've got an actual complete sample collection of a harp. It's always like a glissando thing.
A couple of glissandos here and there, yeah.
I haven't got the full thing, so
yeah,
it's worth £20 for that.
Exactly. I mean, you're £20, and if you've got enough space to source it, 33 gig download, so if you've got enough space to store it. I bought this the other day, and then I can get this because the cable's quite short. I bought an SSD drive. Well, I cashed in some points. Got a 1 terabyte Samsung SSD drive.
Oh yeah.
And I thought I'll put my BBC SO on there because it's like 600-700 gig installed. And then I click on it and I'm just like, oh, go make a cup of tea because it's down on the mechanical drive. Yeah. And now it loads lightning fast. And I thought, I'll put all my other Spitfire stuff on there. I've got about 20 gig left now. So I'm going to need to buy another one because it does make such a difference.
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And I thought, I wonder how much the prices of large SSDs are these days. They still haven't come down. And obviously in the world that we live in today, it's...
I got a 2 terabyte SanDisk one.
Oh yeah,
I think that was it was round about the £150 mark, I think.
Yeah, I think this one retails for about 110. It was a Samsung T7. I didn't go because I had the option. I had these points that I could cash in this service, and this one was like 1,200 points, and they had the same one but with a fingerprint security scanner thing, and that was a couple of hundred extra points. I thought, no, I'll use those for something else. I got myself a barbecue.
Nice.
And I bought the wife 2 tea towels.
Do some found sounds on the barbecue.
On the barbecue, yeah. There's a proper Weber as well.
Yeah, because I think I've got 5 2 terabyte SSDs.
That's what I'm thinking I'm going to have to do, is multiple ones.
And they're all like, I thought, shall I raid it? No, don't. And I got all my Spitfire and stuff like that on. I mean, the Hans Zimmer strings was like, how big?
Yeah.
It's like, it's bulk, really.
I bought an 8 terabyte mechanical, hard drive. It's I forget what make it is. It's a Toshiba or I don't know. And it's like, well, actually now it's a little less full than it was because I shifted all the Spitfire stuff. So I've got about 6 gig on that still. Yeah. So I've only got about 2 gig on there. But it's just when you get to that stuff of the magnitude of Spitfire, like BBC SO or any of their big things, you've got to have an SSD these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
because then I've got all the East West stuff. I got all the Synphobia. I got the 8DO stuff. It's like it's just and none of them are small by any stretch of the imagination.
No. And it's no surprise that a lot of them, you could buy BBC SO on an SSD. Yeah. And it's no surprise that companies are doing that these days. So there you go. Anyway, AudioPluginDeals is the website you need to go to. If you're not registered there or have that saved in your favourites, do so because they have some amazing deals sometimes. I've bought a whole bunch of stuff on there that I didn't bother when it was full price. And of course, when they offer it on here, you get it for next to nothing. They had a great deal on the Waldorf PPG Wave 3V recently. I don't know if that's still going on, like £20. It's a great plugin, apart from the fact that it's got a minuscule user interface, but I won't start. I'm not going to go there. MUZE 6-in-1 massive acoustic bundle is available for the next 9.5 days on AudioPluginDeals. So 20 quid. Can't go wrong, really, can you? So there you go. That's that. What else have we got? We've done the Cherry Audio Elka-X. I see James is in the chat room. Hello, James. Well done on that. Congrats.
Yeah, good man.
I think he said that those the jar patches that we were playing and the sequences were his. Not surprised. Not surprised because they're very good.
Very good.
So we've done Misha, we've done MUZE. There was this. We've done Backstage Pass and DX Dreams and Isla Instruments. Yeah. We've got one more thing to do, and this was it's neither here nor there, but when we did the end of the year last year, we did our top 5 hardware synths, top 5 software synths, and top 5 software plugin effects. Ooh. And when we did the effects, I think Dom's Mr. Wiggly's Incinerator was our favourite of the year. Yeah. But in that list of 4 runners-up, shall we call them, we had the fantastic, Windy Pops, the Tai Chi from Reverb Foundry. We absolutely loved that and still do to this day. They've just there's an update for it, 1.5 update, which adds, I think, Dolby Atmos capabilities in there.
Wow.
So, it's even better value now. But I didn't know that Reverb Foundry were kind of already part of LiquidSonics. And LiquidSonics are a British company who've developed some incredibly good software plugin effects. But what they've decided to do now is bring Reverb Foundry kind of under the LiquidSonics umbrella, shall we say. So it's now Reverb Foundry by LiquidSonics. You can still get all the stuff. It's still there. Your licenses for anything automatically work. There's nothing happens. So you can just download the updates and install them and everything. As long as you've got the license, it's fine. But yeah, they've brought it all kind of in-house now under the LiquidSonics thing, which is not a massive piece of news. But I know that his name's gone completely. Who was the guy we had on?
Dave Bryce.
Dave Bryce, that's it. Sorry, I'm so sorry, Dave. I hope you're watching this at some point. I do apologise for getting your name. It's one of those days. So Dave Bryce was big on this and sold us on this, and it's a really good. But it's now got Atmos capability, and there are different versions of it. There's Tai Chi and there's Tai Chi Lite. The full Tai Chi's. I think you and I. Did you get one?
I've got one yet.
I know you got one. I don't know if we got you one, Ken.
I can't remember.
It would take you ages to find it. But it is a really, really, really nice reverb. And so hopefully this, everything going under this umbrella will just make things easier to maintain and keep going. And there's also some other stuff that they do under the LiquidSonics, or the Reverb Foundry brand that's now under LiquidSonics. So it's all kind of there, and the guys at LiquidSonics were involved in the development of Tai Chi. So it's just a little bit of news. It's not really a takeover or anything. But if you are looking for a really, really tasty reverb, then Tai Chi. It's a weird name. I don't know why it's called Tai Chi.
Yeah, Dave Bryce said that it was actually designed for keyboard players, wasn't it? It was designed to complement keyboard sounds, and I think the way it works as well is quite intuitive as well.
Yeah.
You can do a lot in the actual reverb unit itself without external processing on that. It's really good. It's great reverb.
Yeah. So if you want it now, then this is where you go. LiquidSonics. It's all there. All of their stuff, along with all the LiquidSonics stuff, is in there too. So LiquidSonics.com is the website if you want to read more about that, or find out where to buy all of this stuff. It's all there, and so some of the LiquidSonics stuff is really, really good. There you go.
That's a good point.
Sorry?
This is a good point.
Inspired by TC2.
Tai Chi,
Yeah,
TC
go.
Electronics, yeah.
TC. Yeah, absolutely. So that's it. That's everything. That's all of our news. As I say, there's not really a huge amount of the new stuff this week. There's been some nice things. Elka-X, I think, is definitely, if we're going to do our Best of the Year awards again at the end of this year, I'm pretty damn certain Elka-X is going to be in there. So congratulations to those guys. Yeah. If you haven't already bought it, go and get it now. It's well worth it. Who have we got coming up on the show? So next week, I'm very excited about this one. We've got Benj, or Ben Edwards to his mother and father. So he's coming on the show, and if you haven't already, please do go and check out his YouTube channel. It's Zach Dagoba, Zack, new word, Dagoba, Zach Dagoba. I'm sure most of you are already subscribed, but please go to that and watch. Not only he's done some great demonstration videos of some really amazing analog gear, but also his meme tune show is just so brilliant. He does one a month, and he released episode 5 last week, I think it was, and he said it's the penultimate show. So it means like the next one's going to be the last one. So I'm going to have a go at him next week, because I've really begun to get into that, and I really look forward to it. So yeah, very much looking forward to speaking to Benj next week, August the 26th. Then we've got Paulie Alex Bow coming on the show, who is fast becoming very popular on Sonic State. So I thought, best to get them on here as well. We can't be outdone. But we are reliant on Paulie's wife not giving birth at that time. It's very close to the due date. So we might have to pull that depending on Paulie's wife being in labour. So fingers crossed.
Choice of words.
Yeah, true. Fingers crossed, Paulie will be here. And they're just super interesting, and they've got some great projects going on. Really want to talk about those in some depth and detail. Very interesting person to have on. Following that, we've got Jem Godfrey, who is the keyboard player with Frost and has written #1 hit singles for bands in the UK, and he's had all sorts of amazing success. Just bought a Fairlight 2. What a fool. So we're going to talk about his experience with that and everything else. And he's just a super nice guy. So really looking forward to that, September 9th. And as I mentioned before, the week after that, September 16th, we've got Dan and Mitchell from Cherry Audio coming back on the show. They're always good fun. They're a great pair, actually, when they're together. So we've got those people on. End of the month, we've got, this is end of September, we've got Bob Coover from Groove Synthesis. And that's another one I'm really looking forward to, because the third wave is increasingly... it's just, I've got to have that synth. Come hell or high water, I've got to have that synth. And that's the last show before Synthfest in Sheffield. I don't know what we're going to be doing, because I won't be around, because I'm going to be in Sheffield. I go up the day before, because Sound on Sound treats to a curry, and I will never turn down a free curry. So I don't know whether we can do something, because I normally get to go in during load-in on the Friday night, and there's usually people like Phil Oakey walking around, so I just wonder if we could maybe do something. I don't know if I'll be allowed. Get punched
in the face by him. Yeah.
Get punched in the face by Phil Oakey. That would be...
Yeah, there you go.
Anything to get the numbers up, hey? Anything to get the numbers up. But, oh yes, of course, as Matt Evans has reminded me, hopefully he'll be bringing DX7 for me to pick up. That means I've got to find money. Oh, gosh. Right, okay. Send the kids down the coal mines, I think. Right, so, yeah, and then, so October, November, we're still working some stuff out, but in December, fingers crossed, touch wood, whatever it is that you do to make things happen, we've got David Gamson of Scritti Politti coming on the show. And again, he is really nice and a really great guy. I also want to get Don Lewis and Ned Augustenborg on the show. And actually, it's worth pointing... I just want to remind everyone, I did post on the Facebook page earlier today. So there's this brilliant film that was originally called The Ballad of Don Lewis. So Don Lewis, if you don't know who Don Lewis is, where have you been? He's this amazing musician who kind of pretty much invented MIDI before MIDI was invented, if that makes sense. He worked it out and then went to see his friend Roland, Mr. Kakahashi-san, and it kind of inspired them to do that. So not only that, but he's a virtuoso keyboard player who wired all sorts of synthesizers together without MIDI and got them all working together, and has just been, he's just the most incredible human being. Anyway, that film got put out on DVD, had a limited kind of theatrical release. It's now going to be on PBS in the US in February next year, nationally, nationwide even, in February of next year on PBS. It's free of charge to watch. It's been recut and re-edited and I think extended for TV. So please go and watch that. It's just the most incredible movie. If you can't wait, then I think you can still buy The Ballad of Don Lewis on DVD. It's just a brilliant film. Very inspirational, very moving. And when you realise what Don Lewis has had a hand in over the years, we have a lot to be thankful for this man for in the world of music technology.
It'd be incredible if we could get him on.
Oh yeah. Well, I interviewed him for Sound on Sound, and I really want to get him on here because he's one of those people that I don't care how upset or depressed or down you might be feeling.
Yeah.
He just fills you with joy. He's he's this massive smile all the time, and everything's so positive, but not in that kind of sickly sort of way. It's just genuine energy. It's just brilliant. So I want to get him on. So fingers crossed we'll get that. But there you go, and hopefully we'll get David Caulfield back on the show at some point once the book's ready to go, and we can talk about that. But that was I enjoyed that today.
Yeah.
Hope you did too.
It was good. It was good. Yeah.
Indeed.
It's great hearing from David. I'm looking forward to the book.
Yeah, that's going to be a great book. So watch, if you want to keep up with that, just keep tabs on the Facebook page. And of course, as soon as we have links, we'll be sharing it on the show as well. So we shall do all that. I'm off to catch the last 20 minutes or so of the Norwich City game. I think at the moment we are 1-0 up against Millwall, which is good. And that puts us up into like the top 10 of the table at last. I was going to wear my Norwich shirt today, and then I thought, no, I will do the corporate thing.
And I let the side down.
Yeah, let us down. Yeah, let us down. But anyway,
I've been moving office furniture all day.
All right.
What the hell is the world coming to when I'm the reliable one? What the hell?
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
That can't be right.
What else we got coming up in the synthesizer YouTube world? Tomorrow we've got Ranzi.
Yeah.
Go and watch Ranzi's show tomorrow afternoon. I always have him and the football on together, and I sort of have to like use the faders on the mixers, just in case. Every time I hear the commentator get a little bit excited, pump him up and I turn Ranzi down, and then I go back again. But I haven't got to do that because we're playing tonight, so I can watch Ranzi's show, and that's at 1 p.m. UK time, I believe. I'm not sure who he's got on or what they're talking about, but there you go, Ranzi's on, and then you got Jamie and Mr. Wiggly, and of course we've got to say it's Mr. Wiggly's 60th show on Sunday, and this guy there is going to be on with Ty and a guy called, is it Oliver?
Yeah.
I want to say Oliver, yeah. So 60th birthday celebration. It's not 60th, is it? But 60th show celebrations. Always good for a laugh.
His age.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. It's a good laugh, and it's much more of a relaxed and less techie, nerdy, geeky show with the wonderful Lula May and her quiz, and lots of silliness going on. So go and watch there. And of course Sonic State as usual on a Wednesday next week. So lots of great stuff to go and watch and see on Tinternet. We will be back same time, same place next week with Ben Edwards. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure and an honour as always. Have a fantastic weekend. You gigging this weekend?
I'm gigging at 11 venue in Stoke-on-Trent on Saturday. If you want
11 venues in Stoke-on-Trent?
No, it's called 11. the venue's called 11.
That's an odd name.
I know, yeah. It's in Stoke-on-Trent, so if you want to see Electromantics, there we are.
There you go. Tickets on the door?
Yes.
Fantastic. How much? How much do we have to pay to see you? Because now you're famous now. You've supported Heaven 17.
I reckon it'll be a tenner.
Tenner. Oh, that's not
yeah,
bad.
it's not bad.
2 drink
we're
minimum.
Yeah, we're on door money, so please come.
And buy the merchandise. Talking of which, our merchandise, yes, go to vipergraphics.co.uk.
Yes.
You can order your Pro Synth Network
Indeed.
shirts and hoodies and polos. And we'll be looking to expand the range at some point. So, yeah, go and see Ben at 11 in Stoke-on-Trent tomorrow, tenner on the door. Kent, have you got much lined up for this weekend? Do you sort that kitchen out yet?
No, I've got more to do in the kitchen tomorrow.
Okay. God.
And everything else. But I was thinking about doing another show tomorrow night, just because I feel like annoying people. So I might do another one tomorrow.
I'll tell you who you will annoy. Mrs.
Go on.
Puricelli.
Why's that?
I don't know. She just gets rather annoyed when I sit up here talking to my nerdy mates.
Well, you know she's invited on as well.
I know, but she doesn't like coming on camera. Maybe I should reword that. Anyway, she doesn't like appearing on camera.
Yes.
Certainly not to the general public. Anyway.
Oh God!
Oh, I'm digging the hole. Digging the hole. I'm just glad she doesn't watch this. All right, I might join you on that. I don't know what we're doing. She wants to.
If she's seen that, yeah, you will be.
Yeah. she wants me to buy her a new car. She crazed me for ages to change her car because she had a Y registered Peugeot, 20 odd years old, and only got 46,000 on the clock. It was lovely, but she wanted something a bit more modern, so she chose this Vauxhall Corsa. Oh, it's been a nightmare, absolute nightmare. The last time it went into the garage for the work to get it through the MOT, they lent her a VW Golf, and she's like, "Oh, I like one of these." So I found one that's not too far away, so I'm going to look at that tomorrow. Yeah,
I've had loads of Golfs.
yeah, they're great. They're great cars. So so that's what my weekend is: going and buying cars and sorting out the mother-in-law's plumbing.
Oh, that
I'll
sounds.
leave it there.
Yeah.
She got a dodgy toilet, so we've got to try and sort that out.
Not
Anyway, indeed. Brilliant. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone. We will see you back here, same time, same place next week. Enjoy all the other shows across the internet. Please go and support them all. If you can throw them a few quid as well to keep them going, that'd be fantastic. For everyone that's donated today, everyone that's donated through the PayPal, before or after or during, we love you. We thank you. We do this for you, and it really is a pleasure that we do it, and we're incredibly grateful for your support. Until next week, have a fantastic one. We will see you soon. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.